All right. So we'll begin with today's webinar. Thank you so much, Dr. Alvin, Dr. Puneet, and Dr. Noor for joining us today in Onsurity's Wellness Wednesdays. We are back again after a week's break, and it's so great to see all the attendees, join us for today's session. And I think today's session is actually going to be really great because we've never had such a great panel of three speakers speaking about one topic, and I think it's going to be a wonderful session of insights, learning, and a lot of new things that we're going to talk about. And so today's session is going to be about Diwali and diabetes, one of the most talked about topics during the festive season, especially in the health space. And I think it's very imperative for all of us to sort of throw light on this because especially for the diabetic patients and people who have diabetes, it's very difficult to sort of control your cravings and have that sort of an upper hand on your health consciousness when it comes to sugar consumption during Diwali, because the number of sweet boxes that are sort of shared among colleagues, among family members, relatives, and friends, it's just humongous. And then there's a whole bunch of parties that are lined up, and it's very difficult to sort of maintain a diet during this period, which is why I think it's so great to talk about wellness during Diwali with a different angle to diabetes. And I think that's where Onsurity plugs in the gap, and we have such a great panel today speaking about it. So let me quickly introduce our panelists today for all of you who've joined in. We have Dr. Alvin Sigamani, who has about 17 years of research experience and is practicing, chronic disease management, is the head of research at St. John's Research Institute, as well as Narayana Health Group of Hospitals. He brings his years of experience to his current role as Chief Scientific Officer at Newman Health, which we had discussed previously in our last session as well. And I hope all of you remember how wonderful our consultation with Newman Health was earlier. We have Dr. Puneet Kaur Chadda also joining us today. Dr. Puneet is a patient counselor and a nutritionist. She has worked as project manager for different cohort studies in association with ICMR, AIMS, London School of Health and Hygiene, and her passion for understanding people and her career that's been revolving around it has contributed largely to all her knowledge so far. And I think that's what inspires us to bring a panelist like her today to sort of share a lot from her practical experience to you guys, right? Then we have Dr. Noor Sabah, who is a postgraduate from Mount Carmel College in Bangalore in foods and nutrition. Dr. Noor has about 10 years of experience working in different hospitals, catering to patients from various backgrounds and definitely from nutritional needs. So here our panelists today are, all coming from a background from a nutrition specific role. And I think it's going to be a great discussion that we're going to have on today's topic about diabetes. And thank you so much for joining in. We're going to have a quick 15-minute session towards the end of the webinar for question and answers, where our panelists would be answering all the questions that you put down in the chat box. And over to you, Dr. Alvin. Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Thank you, Abhishek, and welcome to this new edition of Onsurity, handling health information and awareness. And nothing more important than this Indian festival of Diwali, which is celebrated world over. And we all know what it is famous for. And it's a time that everybody in the family, including people who have diabetes, should be allowed to celebrate. And we wanted to bring in some information, some tips that can help you to go through this Diwali with all the confidence and peace of mind that you will not have problems after this particular festival season is over. So without much more time into introductions, I'll just give a very quick overview about why people or what happens during a person having diabetes and eating large quantities of food and sweets compared to somebody who's not a diabetic. And it's about creating a little bit of an awareness around it. This is a very simple cartoon, just to show, when we eat anything that we eat, it basically, the body tries to break it down into glucose, because glucose is what the body requires to function. It is the fuel of the body, and without glucose, no organ or no part of your body will be able to function. So it tries to search for anything that can be broken down into glucose, and the biggest organ that helps in doing that is the liver. And whenever the glucose tries to enter the bloodstream, your pancreas immediately produces some insulin, and the insulin makes sure that the glucose levels are particular range. The per deciliter, what is what is value in your blood, to about 180 milligrams per deciliter. And the moment it crosses the upper threshold, the kidneys try to throw out excess glucose in the blood. So this is a mechanism that is happening in normal people. But unfortunately, when you develop the condition of diabetes, it could be because you have insulin producing cells in your pancreas, or you were born deficient with it, which is called type 1 diabetes, or there is too much fat accumulated around the liver, which is not making the liver do its job of breaking down the glucose properly. So many of these factors come into play. And another thing also that happens during diabetes is the person develop diabetes, there is a lot of muscle weakness, and this muscle weakness also leads to the body unable to utilize all the sugar. So someone who does not have diabetes consuming a quantity of sweets or a quantity of carbohydrates compared to somebody who has diabetes, and also the age of the diabetes, how long the person has been having diabetes, all of these factors come into play into what can happen when the sugar or the glucose that comes into the body increases suddenly. And as we all have knowledge at this point in time, it is not just the quantity, it is not the amount of sweets that you eat, it is also the quality of the sweets that you eat. Both of these matter, and we need to be able to balance both of these things. And there is an importance for us to maintain something called as a balanced diet. Now, in a balanced diet, we need to choose what we eat. Now, this can be difficult at times, especially during this Diwali. So it's good to know a little bit about what are good carbohydrates and what are bad carbohydrates. Simply put, anything that gives a very quick rise in blood glucose is considered to be a bad carbohydrate. Simple sugars, refined sugars, something which has got very high quantity of sugar syrup coming from natural sweetening agents. All of these things increase your blood glucose level rapidly. So it's called the glycemic response. Any food which has a very fast glycemic response, that is something which should be avoided or should be reduced in a person with diabetes. And those that generally have a sweet taste but does not have a very quick response, those can be consumed, but again, the quantity matters. You can't consume too much of that. So it is always creating a balance of this bad carbohydrate versus a good carbohydrate, because generally, as you all know, bad things are more tasty. So we have to be careful about the amount of bad carbohydrates that you consume and try to replace them with good carbohydrates. And we will try to touch upon that when our dietitians speak to you about that. There's another thing that people talk about is the glycemic index. And glycemic index is something which if you buy certain sweets, especially from some good quality, you do generally have it printed, or you can actually even Google it and find out what is the glycemic index of a particular sweet that you're taking. Now, again, it is about the amount of glucose that will enter your blood. Now, you have food that you're eating, and you need to know how much of that food is going to be broken down, and then how much is going to enter your blood. So, understanding the glycemic index of a food will let you know how much of that particular food that you eat will it increase my glucose levels by. Again, like I said, if it's a normal person, you have sufficient mechanisms to be able to take up all that excess glucose that's coming. But once you have diabetes, and especially if the diabetes is a little old, it's been around with you for many years, you lose the ability to be able to mop it up. So you need to look at foods which have a lower glycemic index compared to some foods which are having a higher glycemic index. The last component is the glycemic load. Now, this is what I'm trying talking about, is the quantity that you eat at a particular point in time. You see, sweets are there, you have all the foods around. Try to break it down. So the moment you eat a lot at one particular time, you're giving a lot of load into you. So this is something to do with the portion size that you eat. So these are scientifically proven components which talk about. So you have the glycemic response, which is what your body does to any food that you eat. Then you have the glycemic index, which is the type of food that you're eating, whether it is going to have a very high spike or a low spike. And then you have the glycemic load. Now, you need to have a food which has a low glycemic response. You need to have foods which have a low glycemic index, and you need to ensure that you do not increase the glycemic load in your body. This is the scientific way of putting across what you need to be doing in diabetes. Now, the practical way of doing it, I'm sure we will be hearing from our nutritionists out here, and they will talk you through about what can be done to cut down on these three elements. And so I wanted to just stop there. Just wanted to introduce this concept to you, because when we talk about diabetes, it's not that you should not eat sweets or you should not enjoy the food. That is a completely wrong message or a knowledge. It is about these three elements. And if you are able to identify these three elements in the way you consume your food, you can have a happy Diwali. So I'll hand it over now to Noor and Puneet to help you with some practical tips of how do we bring these three things together and make sure that for a diabetic patient, especially depending on the number of years that they are having diabetes, what can be done and how it can be managed. So over to you, Noor and Puneet, and I'll be happy to answer questions in the end.
So today we'll be talking about few tips to manage diabetes as well as to have a happy and a safe Diwali. A huge part of festival is food, and it is all basically high in calories and in sugars. And when we think of Diwali, we always think of sweet. The sweet is what it comes in our mind. So sweet is sweet are central to Diwali celebration. Diwali sweets and savories are extremely delicious, but then overeating this can cause you harmful. Can be harmful for people who are suffering from diabetes or high blood pressure. So diabetic people should be mindful of what they eat or their diet around the festivals. Eating whatever they like can cause consequences like harmful consequences or dangerous consequences. So not only the sweets, but also the drinks which are served during festivals are high in calories and added sugars. But then if you know...
A huge part of carbonated drinks and these sodas.
Yeah, I'm gonna come to that part. Yeah, I'm gonna come to that part as well.
That people really need to sort of take a check on.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you about the alcohol intake and how much to be taken and how to incorporate those. So next, if you have taken care of yourself, or if you have followed a proper diet and had a healthy lifestyle for at least for a year or so, and you have maintained the exercise, a moderate level of exercise, a few changes in your diet during your festivals will hardly cause any difference. It will not make you, in 1 or 2 days, will not make you from bad to good, from good to bad. So few tips are like, portion control. Portion control is something, a very first dietary tip for a diabetic. So if you really want to opt for a sweet during this festival, Diwali festival, you can take a small portion of sweet, but making sure your sugars are under control, and always check your sugars before you take a small portion of sweet. And if you have plans of going for evening dinner or an evening party, try to eat the previous meal in moderation. Like example, like just grab a fruit or a nuts, so that you can prevent an overeating in that particular meal. And also this way you can also maintain your blood sugars. Second is include foods which are rich in fiber, because fiber will make you feel full, and it is low in calories. So make sure the portion of your plate, maximum or majority of your portion of the plate is full of fiber. And try to opt for a daytime or a lunch party rather than going for a night parties. This will be much better. And start your meal with liquid beverages like soup, buttermilk, or lime water. This will reduce the appetite, as also avoid sugary beverages. So try to opt for more like buttermilk or lime water. These are better options than going into these carbonated drinks. Start eating with a protein option, because protein will make you feel full. It gives that satiety feeling. So you have to eat protein in your meal first. So try to include like tofu. If you're non-vegetarian, eat grilled chicken, grilled fish, or you can eat sprouts, pulses, or you can go for buttermilk or soya products. These are also rich in protein. Opt for a roasted or a baked method of cooking rather than deep fried cooking. Keep yourself hydrated. Drink more water during this Diwali. This will not only cleanse your gut, but also makes you feel full, so that you avoid overeating. So beverages, like again, same thing applies here, like buttermilk, lassis you can take, or you can take lime water. Yeah.
Doctor, do you think sleep has anything to manage a good diabetic diet?
Yeah, sleep is also comes into that healthy lifestyle. So we need to have proper good 6 to 8 hours of sleep. So if you don't sleep, you'll have this stress level also increases if you don't sleep well, because while sleeping our stress level gets regulated, and the less stress hormones get regulated, and this way it naturally lowers our any stress if we have. Or also it's very good for our health to sleep on a particular proper time period. And limit coffee, tea, alcohol, or carbonated beverages, because you need to balance there, because you're already been eating in that high calorie food. So if you're all taking high calorie food along with high beverages, then the diet is going to go for a toss. So always try to moderate the level of or limit the level of carbonated drinks, tea or coffee. It's not like you have to avoid, you can limit it. And do not take alcohol along in your empty stomach. Always try to drink in between alcohol some water, or eat a snack in between whenever you're drinking alcohol. Go for sugar-free sweets. Now there are too many brands available, or good brands available, so you can go for sugar-free sweets. Try making food at home rather than buying outside. So when you're making or cooking food by yourself, so you have that all authority to change the ingredient or to change the method of cooking, going for a more healthier version. So this way you can also be more diabetic friendly while making, and more healthier options you can include in. Then avoid packaged or ready-made or ready-to-eat foods. And then, you should always be a good chooser to identify which is a rich carbohydrate food. So if you're going for a party, a Diwali party or something, if you have a buffet there, you can look around and see which are good healthy options. Choose for those options rather than and avoid the fried stuff. Not like completely avoid. You can take in moderation, because the first point was eat in moderate level, portion control. Yeah. I think Puneet, you have to say something.
Yeah, so thank you, Noor, for giving us good start with after Dr. Albin. So I just come up with few things. It's a festival time, so like we have to balance out. And I think nature, or maybe the way life is made, Navratri always comes before Diwali, and maybe that was the ancestral way, or our people were smart enough that okay, you start before you feast. And nowadays, I think our fasting only is feasting. We think of fast of actually putting more food into our body. We try to eat more fried potatoes, kuttu ki aate ki puri. Fast should be treated as a fast, and it's a misconception. Diabetics can also fast. It's not that diabetics can't fast. Only thing is they have to control the portion size. They have to incorporate a little protein into their diet when they're fasting. And I think Navratri is a good beginning for our festive season. So if you have missed that out, no problem. Maybe from next year, you will start doing it, or you can end with a fast post Diwali season. And as Noor mentioned and Dr. Albin, this is a time we have to look at the festivities around us. And we should keep our diabetes in our mind, but at the same time, do not stress, because stress also increases your sugar levels. A good sleep, as the question asked by Abhishek, is very, very important. And I know many of you people from North are busy playing cards. This is a time to catch up on your friends. So we all go out for card parties post our work. It's a very good way to relax. But at the same time, keep in mind, if you can't sleep for 8 hours at a stretch, try to have a power nap during the next day. Somewhere find time to just have a power nap. That will also rejuvenate you and keep your blood sugars under control.
I think the part where I'm still stuck on the part where you introduced how Navaratri is a season of fasting, and then you subtly introduce feasting in between. I think that's a very nice thing that you introduced in your beginning, because I'm still stuck on it. Honestly, I'm still stuck on it. It was really nice. And thank you so much for bringing that interesting turn to the topic, because diabetes per se is a very talked about thing, and some people just don't know how to relax around it. So I think that's a very good take on the topic, and great how you brought in nature as a concept here. Thank you so much.
Welcome. And so that's what I'm coming to. So stress, this is the time people should actually look at eating people, enjoying the festival, but a small, like Noor mentioned, or Dr. Albin, portion sizes. Just be very conscious about your portion sizes. Go out, it's the time. And I'll tell you one thing, when you are relaxing, it will also have a positive impact on your sugars. When you stress, it increases. But a small tip I was coming to is start incorporating physical activity. Okay, when you're gone for your cards party, maybe play one game when you're standing rather than sitting down. Maybe you take out your friend for a break and go out for a 10 minutes walk. Even if you incorporated 30 minutes of walk in a day, 10 minutes each, it will still help you control your sugars. And some stretches, when you get up in the morning, incorporate a 15 minutes of stretch, which is an aerobic exercise, which will have a positive impact on your sugar, will actually help you keep at bay your sugar levels. So that post Diwali or the feasting season, you will not be running to the doctor for increase in the dosage. So these are small tips I would like to give. So keep a close watch on your sleep, even if you can't do, because I know you all have to work, then you have to go and meet your family. It's the time when you want to be together, but try to find half an hour or 45 minutes during the day for a power nap. Try to have a power nap that will rejuvenate you. A 30 to 45 minutes of walk. It may not be at a stretch. You can, when you're meeting your friends, you can stand and talk to them. You can go for a walk and talk. So my favorite line to everyone is walk the talk. So you can catch up with your friends and at the same time incorporate your physical activity. And as Noor mentioned, please have a fruit or a fiber or a protein, like you can have a tofu or a soya bean steak or a paneer or a grilled chicken with a small fruit from home before going for any party. What happens the moment you enter a party, you're very hungry and you start actually gorging on a lot of sweets or the food which is there, which actually upsets your sugar levels. If you've eaten from home, you can actually space out. And as Noor mentioned, having a drink on a full stomach is better than having it on an empty stomach. So small portion sizes is the key. Yeah. So that was my only thing. Keep your stress at bay. Don't fatigue. Don't overstretch things. Listen to your body. Most important, listen to your body. If your body says slow down, so try to slow down for some time and go and enjoy your festival with your favorite foods. You can control your portions and enjoy. Don't gorge on too many sweets which are made from the market, but preferably homemade sweets made out of figs, dates can be your take for Diwali.
Can I add something?
Sure, Noor.
So I would like to give you more examples for sugar-free sweets or homemade recipes. So you can try out this paneer kheer or oats kheer, oats apple firni you can make, or sugar-free shrikhand, or low-fat kesar elaichi shrikhand, or any sugar-free sweets you can make. Apple rabdi you can make. So these are few examples which you can try it out for this Diwali. And also try. You want to tell something? Okay, try to keep your usual healthy routine. If you're not able to maintain that healthy routine or regular routine, try to break down your meals and eat as a small snacks. So this will also help you to normalize your sugar levels. Yeah.
And most important thing which is on your screen is don't skip your medication. So always carry it with them. Even in a party, you must learn to remember to take your medicines on time. So medicines should be taken on time.
Also to add that sometimes people have the habit, I have taken a sweet, so I'll double my dose. Yeah. Please never, ever, ever do that. Because you are actually causing more harm to your body by doing that. The doctor would have prescribed a particular medicine at a particular dose. Never double dose or increase your dose just because you've had some sweets. I've seen this as a very common practice. I went and ate a lot of sweets, so I'll just take double of what I've been taking every day. It may be insulin, it may be a tablet. Never ever overdose yourself. Please remember, these are chemicals and they can harm your body even more than it does good to you. And I just want to add another point from what Puneet was trying to talk about, walk the talk. There is evidence from research that people who can actually talk and walk actually keeps their brain healthy and they actually don't develop dementia. There's a very recent research that just come out. So whenever you're trying to walk and you're talking to people, just call them for a small walk. And do that as even a small competition, because the more you can actually walk while you're talking and you can talk while you're walking, both are important. You are not only helping with your glucose metabolism, but also you're making sure your brain is staying healthy. So I just wanted to add those 2 points to what my friends just told.
I think that's very important and easy, especially for working professionals and youngsters. I think that's something we can easily do. If not, at least a lot of the other things that fall into the gamut of healthcare. Walk the talk is something which is for sure a takeaway for me today. And I think I would definitely recommend this to my diabetic colleagues at work. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Albin, Dr. Puneet, and Dr. Noor. Before we sort of wrap up the session, I have some very quick questions that I would like to, sort of ask the three of you and your take on the whole thing. Firstly, very, very happy Diwali in advance to all three of you and to your families. I really hope that this year the Diwali is really blissful and joyful, and definitely a very health driven Diwali for all of you. And a very quick take for working professionals, and I would like all the three of you to sort of give one liner or one sort of an advice, one piece of advice for working professionals who have diabetes, and what could be their easiest way of enjoying the festival while staying healthy for this Diwali. What would you say? Let's go ahead with Dr. Alvin first.
I would say mindful eating and staying stress free, especially during Diwali, is the best medicine that you can ever take during this festival period of time. So, mindful eating and being stress free. Whatever stresses you have, I'm sure your offices are also going to give you time off. Take the time off and be stress free.
Yeah, I think that's most important. I think people who aren't going home, at least make sure that you are doing some sort of an activity to keep your stress levels down during the festive season, and do try to go back home or spend time with your families. And of course, you have a whole lot of things that you can do in Diwali, and it's not very necessary for you to enjoy sweets and savories. Do everything that everyone is doing. You can indulge into a lot of new things. Probably start therapy for that matter, or take out time for your mental health. Do certain activities that keep you happy, or indulge in any sort of thing that is very different from what everyone is doing, and just make a step towards keeping your life stress free this Diwali. Thank you so much, Dr. Alvin. Dr. Puneet, what would you have to say for working professionals?
So I would like to add the same thing. Enjoy. This is a time to enjoy a festival. So, like you said, play games. It's actually a time when you have to forget everything will happen, but with so much of positivity around, soak in that positivity. It will help you combat all your stresses in your life. But at the same time, like you said, sir said, mindful eating, same way. Just keep an eye on the portion size. Just look at your plate, and it should be 70% full, not 100% full. That's the thing.
Wonderful. And I think also people who are great enthusiasts of reading books. This is my take from Dr. Puneet's talk today, that if you really love reading, please go ahead and check the internet of such analogies that you can come up about connecting nature to health, about connecting wellness to health, about connecting wellness to nature, and different angles of seeing life. Because I think that's what is definitely going to keep your mind healthy, because human mind is accustomed to the daily routine that you are doing, right? You might be working 24 hours a day, or 12 hours a day, or 18 hours a day, but you can always take out some time to read something new, to take a new perspective, or probably attend a webinar like this. There might be a lot of webinars happening across different platforms about wellness or about other initiatives. I think taking out time for doing such activities really helps. And I think best for diabetic patients to sort of snap out of that whole stress-free zone and not be dwelling about the medication all the time. I think that's a wonderful way of living life. Thank you so much, Dr. Puneet. Dr. Noor, what would be your take for professionals, working professionals?
Eat home-based food. Do not eat food from outside. I'm a typical nutritionist, so I have to be like that. Yeah, do not skip any meals, because along with diabetes, there's something called hypoglycemia, which can also come in. So eat on time, eat home-based food, and yeah, that's it. Enjoy your life and enjoy Diwali.
And if you are eating home-based foods, please do also share it with your neighbors and friends, because if you can't have too much of sugar-laced chocolates or sweets, share it with others. And I think that's definitely going to give you some kind of a joy. Thank you so much, Dr. Noor, Dr. Puneet, and Dr. Alvin. It's been a wonderful session, although very brief and short, but we've had a great time, learning about different angles to diabetes, maintaining a stress-free and a healthy lifestyle. And I think what's most important for today's attendees who've joined Onsurity's Wellness Wednesdays is to know that not every webinar can be a 1 hour long webinar, and not every talk has to be a very informative driven or very heavily driven topic, right? It could be something as simple as what we did today, right? And that is the beauty of having such great panelists, because they make difficult moments, they make the most difficult topics the most easiest for you to consume and understand. And I think that's what makes this session so healthy for all of us, because I have personally not conducted such a great Wellness Wednesday myself, where we've had 3 different angles about one topic, and very brief and concise for all of us to sort of remember everything and anything, right? And I think that's really important. With that being said, I will quickly allow all the attendees, please feel free to drop your questions on the chat box if you have any. And our panelists would be happy to, take your queries. Anything that you would want to ask them about, diabetes or about your health concerns, please feel free to drop in your questions in the Q&A section.
I do see one hand raised by Nathan. I'm not sure if there is a question or something that you want.
Yeah, Nathan, you can probably put your question on the chat box, and Dr. Albin, or your question would be, addressed to. I think we still haven't got any questions. We just sort of quickly wait for 2 more minutes and see if we have any attendees asking us questions. However, I am not very surprised on why we don't have questions today, because I think this is the agenda, and I think that's what we need to have. This sort of conversations going on ahead, where people are not so worked up about diabetes, right? And we've had previous sessions around diabetes before, and a lot of times we've had people come and ask about the same kind of questions about how difficult it is for them to accept it and then deal with it, right? And I think managing or maintaining the stress levels and not having so much of doubt or concern or fear around this is also very important. So I think I totally am sort of convinced why our panelists don't have certain questions today. But
okay, there's a question by Nino saying, is milk diabetic friendly? So I'll answer half and Noor will elaborate. So yeah, diabetics can surely have milk. It is a protein source, and as Noor mentioned, protein is good for diabetics. Only thing is, if you have lactose intolerant, then you can't have milk. Milk cannot be substituted for a meal. You either you add a fruit or you make a shake and add a salad to it, then it can be substituted for a meal. Or if you have heart failure, then regulate the quantity of milk, because as heart failure, you have to regulate the liquid. So in that case, you might have to reduce the quantity. But diabetics can surely have milk. Milk is very healthy for diabetics, as it's healthy for other people. It's a good source of protein. It will also not spike your blood sugar. Noor,
I would like to add to that. There is evidence that is coming out from this very large study called Pure, which has more than 500,000 people being followed up for the last 20 years. They were entered into the study at the age of 30, and right now they are all at the age of 50, and we've been following them up. And something that is very strikingly has come: moderate intake of dairy products, which includes milk, is associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease and death. So please do not avoid taking milk. If you are milk tolerant, if you are milk intolerant, yes, you will have to take other choices. But taking dairy products in moderate quantities is definitely healthy for you and actually protects your heart also.
Can I add in?
Yeah.
You can opt for skim milk. If you're really worried about your cholesterol, then you can choose for skim milk. So you get this double tone milk, which is 1% fat or lesser than that. You can opt for those milk. You can consume milk.
Ice creams? What about ice creams?
So again, coming to ice cream.
No ice cream.
So you scream ice cream. We all
We all
scream ice cream, ice cream. Yeah. So I think indulgence is the key. You can all indulge into ice cream because see, one more thing is there. I would like to add. There is something called comfort food. If ice cream gives you a comfort, it will not spike up your sugars. It will reduce the stress level. So comfort food should be taken. Anything, but that does not mean you start gorging on your samosas, because Indians, when it comes to comfort food, it's pakoras and samosas for all. That should not be taken regularly. Yeah. But most of the ice creams made in the market are made from sugar-free. Too much of it is also not very healthy. So if you can make a kulfi at home, like she said, a apple rabdi, or you can make some fruit rabdis and then freeze it at home and have ice cream, nothing like it.
So I have one question. I think my dad asked this question to me because he is a diabetic patient. So he sort of wanted to understand what is the difference between added sugars and emulsifiers. He was very worked up about it. He's like, I don't know if I should consume anything that have emulsifiers because that is supposedly hampering his diabetes, if I'm not wrong. And I think that's something I would like to address. Maybe if we could, get an answer. All three of you, anyone could, sort of help me with this.
Okay. So natural sugar is something which is naturally available. So jaggery or sugarcane juice is the origin of it. Honey is the origin because it's very pure. Jaggery is again one step after sugarcane juice comes. Yeah, the sugar which we are using, the white sugar which we are using in the market is a processed food. A lot of this kind. Same way, a derivative of what we are using as sugar-frees. They were brought into market to give people have a sweet tooth, to give them that thing. But they are still not very healthy. The other thing which is natural is stevia. But when it's taken in the leaf form, it's good. But when it again is a processed form, you don't know what all goes into it. So try to keep yourself as natural. So like we mentioned, try taking natural. Sweets can be taken in the form of figs, in the form of dates. So these are things which are naturally there. The kurmani, you can take apricots. So dried apricots, you can use them as a sugar substitute in your everyday sweets. What would you like to add?
Yeah, but then if your sugars are really high, then try to avoid high-calorie dry fruits as well. But then, yeah, the natural sweetener basically, you think that, sugars, I'll avoid taking sugars, but then natural sweetener is fine. But the calories are the same. Calories will be the same if you have to take through date syrup or honey. Again, you try to include that and your sugars will increase, because the calories are still the same. So try to avoid overall sugar and eat a sugar-free sweet if you're really worried about, which sugars to be added.
Great. Dr. Albin, yeah, we have one question. Would you like to take this? Is rice intake, made of, it says, Arun says, is rice intake make the rice of sugar level and substitute for rice?
Abhishek,
rice intake making the rice of sugar level. I think he means the rise of sugar level, maybe, and I think
rice. Does rice makes the Dr. Albin would like to add, then we'll answer this question.
Yeah.
Sure. No, Abhishek, I just wanted to go back to your question earlier.
Sure.
Your father's question was about emulsifiers.
Emulsifiers, which is
okay. So, as you know, emulsification is a process of suspending two liquids in the same solution. And milk is a natural emulsifier. Okay. Many people substitute milk with other agents in order to increase the longevity of the food, because milk gets spoiled fast. So my answer is, do not take things which are coming from emulsifiers. If it is milk-based sweet, let it be a milk-based sweet. Do not use a milk-based sweet that's coming from an emulsifier. Like, you have these Nestle. So you have those things. The problem with that is it goes through a chemical processing, and that's not good for the liver. Okay. So natural milk, the body can handle, but its property is called emulsification, which people use it through a chemical in order to create the same effect. So don't use emulsifiers or products which contain emulsifiers. Take natural, but they have lesser longevity. So you have to make sure that it's fresh and it's not spoiled. And again, the same principles, quantity, frequency, all that matters. So now over to the question about the rice. Yes. So I think about the rice question here, this has relevance to what I had previously given as a talk. It's about the glycemic index of the rice. And it's also the glycemic load you create, the quantity of rice that you take. So rice per se is not bad for diabetes. You do need it. And if it's your staple diet and it's easy to cook in the family, does not put stress on your better half to make something special for you. Somebody will cook it with happiness to you. So then take it. So don't worry about that part. But the quantity and the kind of rice you eat, you can change it. You can take advice from a dietitian and find out rice types which are of lesser glycemic index and causes lower glycemic response. So, and the load matters. So instead of eating too much of rice, try to substitute it with other things so that the amount of rice that you eat also comes down and the glucose load that you get from the rice also comes down. So maybe Noor and Puneet can throw some, practical substitutes there.
Okay. You can take brown rice, they substitute for white rice, or the broken wheat rice, or the millets. Millets are really good. So you can make a millet rice, or you can make a millet dosa or millet upma, or brown rice palau. So these are the substitute for white rice. As Dr. Alvin said, GI really GI is really high in white rice. So comparatively, the GI in brown rice is very low compared to the white rice. So try to opt for more of brownish colors like broken wheat or brown rice.
Yeah. And if you're really used to eating only the white rice, maybe because of the availability, or maybe as Dr. Albin says, the ease of cooking at home, and that is what is easily available, add more protein to it. So make a thicker dal and add more dal to it. Have a big bowl of salad, which is very easy. You don't even have to tell anyone. You can just take a cucumber, a carrot, and you can yourself munch it to balance the GI load of the glycemic index of the rice. These are the ways you can take rice. Yeah.
We have Rajesh asking about tea and coffee.
Tea and coffee, yeah. So as Noor mentioned in her talk, too much of caffeine is not very good. And here I would still like to highlight, okay, everything, we all blame it on the Britishers, but one thing which Britishers gave us was tea, but they were very smart. They spoiled us by giving us boiled tea, and they themselves have the brewed tea. Brewed tea and brewed coffee is very good for health, provided you limit yourself to 2 to 3 small cups in a day. That is very good. But the boiled tea, what we Indians drink, is actually spoiling the health benefits of the tea. So please, as a mantra, if you have to take a mantra for Diwali and for your health, start drinking brewed tea or brewed coffee and stop saying no to the boiled tea.
I have one more point to add there. If you're a regular tea drinker or a coffee drinker and you're taking medicines for your diabetes, ensure that there is at least a 2-hour gap between you taking your medicine and drinking your tea. Tea and coffee has the property of interacting with your medicines, and it reduces the effect of your medicines. So please do not take your medicines with tea and coffee. Very bad habit to do. Do not drink tea or coffee immediately after taking your medicines. Give a gap of at least 1 to 2 hours. 2 hours always better. And like Puneet also said, ensure that the quantity and the frequency that you're drinking is reduced, and also try to drink it without sugar. It's only a matter of few days. And they say it's a matter of just 3 days of consuming tea or coffee without sugar for your brain to reset itself to understand this is tastier than coffee and tea with sugar. And once you start doing that, you will not like to drink coffee or tea with sugar. Trust me on that part of it. It just takes 3 days for you to adjust to that part of it. So that's the other thing I would like to say.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you start adding your spices like your cardamoms and all to your tea, it has health benefits. So cinnamon, cardamom, or a ginger tea has a lot of health benefits. So you can start enjoying your tea without sugar with the condiments.
And
Or
also, do not take tea, coffee along with your meals, because that also will inhibit few nutrients. Always give a gap, be half an hour before or after, before taking your tea or coffee.
how about green tea?
Green tea is more like an immunity builder. So it's a
Okay.
herbal drink. So it's okay. You can take it along with your meals.
Yes. So everyone who is a diabetic and has joined the webinar, please go and have green tea because it has great health properties, and you can definitely have that too.
Provide it might not let you lose weight the way they advertise.
Yeah.
It's making the way to hook you. So that is one thing which is being wrongly projected to you all.
Right. Wonderful.
My take about green tea is that, that's the only tea that you actually brew and drink
Yeah.
in India. So it's all about brewing. It's about this technique of brewing that you have to do. And you take it, generally you like to take it without sugar. So if you get used to the taste, do it. But again, don't overindulge yourself. Just because green tea is healthy, don't keep drinking green tea every hour of the day. Again, like I said, avoid taking any tea-based products, before or during or just immediately after taking your medicines. It does hamper the amount of medicine that gets absorbed into your system.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you for joining in today. It was a great session. We had very few questions, but then we managed to sort of have a very nice end to the session, and definitely a lot of chuckles, because I think my stress levels have definitely reduced right now. Although I was having a lot of work on my plate, but right now I'm really reduced on my work stress levels. Thank you so much for having such an interactive session for all of us. And to everyone who has paid great attention to our attendees today, to our panelists today, please make sure you have taken down notes. You can always go back on YouTube and check our Wellness Wednesday session. It will be out on the YouTube channel very soon. Please do follow Newman Health. Please do feel free to reach out to Dr. Noor or Dr. Puneet for your health concerns. And it's been a great time having you guys back again. Please make sure that we take the takeaways really seriously. Too much of anything is not great. Have a healthy lifestyle. Please enjoy Diwali, and go now and please buy crackers. If not sweets, buy crackers. That too in limits, because we don't want too much of noise pollution and air pollution. I don't have diabetes, so I'm going to go buy chocolates and sweets right now for such a great session that I've had with the three of you today. Thank you so much again for being here, and we hope to see you again. Thank you so much.